What's good, everybody? I'm Johnny Danger.
Jesse Wheeler.
And we are the Dangerous Dudes. All right.
Proper old-fashioned.
Let's do this.
This is with a bourbon from Columbus, Ohio that my brother gave me for my birthday. I don't remember the name, but I figured you love everything from Columbus and Ohio.
Oh, so. yeah. I'm a huge...
right up your alley.
Huge fan. But I guess this one must be called Awesome Bourbon because it's very good. Got a little spice to it.
I'd added some extra bitters to the old-fashioned.
It's very nice.
Dashes of the orange bitters. That's the noise I made.
So, I was driving in my car the other day, and I heard, it was right after New Year's, and they said, well, MTV is officially no longer a music channel. And
MTV
now,
Music. There's still, like, I was confused. There's still MTV on air, but it's nothing but like ridiculousness reruns.
Yeah.
Like, that's literally all it is.
Which is what they've been leaning towards ever since The Real World in 1992, when that insidious sort of infection sort of took over. That was the first reality television ever, I believe.
So I will admit that when The Real World came out, I loved it.
Yeah.
Because especially like the first few seasons, there was always some sort of crazy dramatic conflict where there was some asshole in the house.
Puck.
In San Francisco.
I knew you were going to say that.
That was like riveting. It was unbelievable. But that led to this whole reality TV craze that's like, obviously we're all over it because it's like 30 years.
Well, didn't they just have like is Big Brother still a thing?
I think so. And the Survivor 50 is out. I mean, there's like there's so many silly reality shows now. The Real World was
that first experiment.
Of the first one. It was a neat idea. I thought it was cool. But at the time, MTV still was playing a lot of videos, which is, if you go back to the beginning in '84, we didn't have a lot of money, but somehow my parents, we had cable where we had MTV, we had HBO too, Home Box it was called then.
Yeah.
And
do you remember when you got it? Because I do.
I remember when we got MTV. It was like right when it came out, and
do you remember the year? Oh, so you got it
'84. Yeah.
So MTV officially aired its first broadcast August 1st, 1981.
81. Okay. Why am I thinking 84? Okay.
Well, because you're older and maybe things start to slip a little bit. Yeah. I live up on a hill. Yeah. I lived up on a hill in East Bumblenuts, and they didn't run cable out that way. And then we our whole hill, which is like 10 people, basically signed this petition, and we finally got the cable company to come out. So I remember it getting installed, cable, and the only thing that I cared about was MTV. And I'll never forget it. When the guy was done hooking it up, he's like, all right, you should be all set. And I immediately grabbed the remote, changed it to MTV. You know what was playing? It was Metallica. It was a replay of, so I must have gotten in September because they always used to do the MTV Music Video Awards in September. So it was right around like school was starting, and they were playing live. I think they were playing Enter Sandman and on the video awards. And I was like, oh my God, this is the greatest thing ever.
So I remember in the early 80s, like there wasn't a lot of videos. So you saw like Video Killed the Radio Star was famously the first one and the last one as well. I remember that video. There was a video called Fish Heads that played a lot. But in the early days, like when a new video came out, it was like an event.
Yeah.
And there are some that made lasting memories. There's this Billy Joel song called Pressure, where the video, he's at a party. He's at a party and like there's like this big fluffy carpet and he starts sinking into it. I remember it made just this, I was riveted by that video.
Yeah.
And not that I don't mind Billy Joel. He's not one of my favorites, but like I don't mind him. But that song, I would get so pumped when the video would come on because it was just such a cool concept. And I watched a lot of MTV in the 80s. Like, I remember the Kiss videos for, so Creatures of the Night had I Love It Loud, which was a really cool video. They even had videos for The Elder that didn't air that much, but they had like A World Without Heroes had a video for there was a Creatures of the Night video and I Love It Loud. And then Lick It Up famously is super cheesy and funny video. And then they had All Hell's Breaking Loose, which is on that album too, which is equally as cheesy. But I loved all that stuff. And then all the like Bon Jovis and Poisons and Rats and stuff like those. That was like the heyday of MTV, because that was all that was on there.
So many bands were breaking.
And when you get to the late 80s, now I'm like, my weekends were Saturday nights, Headbangers Ball.
And 120 minutes.
Well, it was 120 minutes. They eventually changed it to Alternative Nation. But like, that was what I lived. I discovered so much music.
Headbangers Ball was
Ricky
awesome.
Rackman. Oh, it was amazing.
The first host was Adam Curry, I believe.
Yes.
He had the big poofy hair. Yeah. And then it was Ricky Rackman. He was famously one of the co-owners of the Cat House. He was buddies with Tammy Down from Faster Pussycat and Axl Rose.
They had all the bands on
that whole scene. Can you imagine being a part of?
Yeah, it seemed like they were partying
the
on
LA scene, though.
Yeah.
So it was all ushered in. I think like you can get lost in the weeds with like when you start talking about what was the first band that broke like glam rock, and you could go all the way back to like the New York Dolls or like T-Rex was one of them. But let's be honest, like the prototype for what became known as hair metal in the 80s was Van Halen in the late 70s.
Right.
Because you had David Lee Roth, the most charismatic frontman you're ever going to see ever. Mm-hmm. He lifted a lot of his act from Jim Dandy. But that's fine. He made it his own. Even Jim Dandy has come out and said like, yeah, he lifted a lot of my stuff, but he does it better. Look at him. And then on top of that, the greatest guitar player of all time with his brother, Michael Anthony. So you had this prototype of like great songs, great hooks, good looking, charismatic frontman, awesome guitar player.
And LA party.
And LA party is like, this is a good time. Like it's the party that never stops. And that was the blueprint for all these bands that came after. What'd you have? Good looking, charismatic lead singer, awesome guitar player, really catchy, hooky songs. Mm-hmm. And it was a party. And then they had Motley Crue in 1981. Yeah. Then you had, then it ushered in all these other bands, Rat, Poison. Mm-hmm. And I know you're not like the biggest fan of that genre of music. You were probably more interested in REM and maybe Velvet Underground.
Jane's Addiction.
Nobody's perfect. Yeah, but that came, a little bit, mid to late 80s. And I got into it too. And I remember feeling like I had to make a choice, like, getting into like these more alternative bands like Red Hot Chili Peppers, REM, Jane's Addiction. Those are like the first big three that kind of made me turn my head a little bit away from like the hair and the glam and the pop. But I was also starting to learn how to play guitar back then. And I was just fascinated with like great guitar players that had chops. And so anyway, like getting MTV, and when we didn't have MTV, I'd go to my cousin Heather's house, who had it, and we would just be glued to like the television. Like even like I remember when Bon Jovi's follow up to Slippery When Wet came out, New Jersey. Mm-hmm. And they debuted Bad Medicine. Yeah, it was like this big deal. Yeah. Like it was this huge event. There was this countdown to it. And then they released it and it was like, this is awesome.
Yeah. It was because back then you would watch it and it was just video all day long. And they would repeat a lot of the same stuff. But that's why like Headbangers Ball, 120 minutes or any kind of like premiere, it was exciting. And for like, there isn't an equivalent to that in music at this point. With streaming and just the way things are released anymore, you still have people making videos and great videos. That's one part of the medium that I think is important. It needs to survive is putting video to music. I think MTV really revolutionized that as an art form because bands were making videos. Like you can see like Kiss made a bunch of super cheesy videos in the late 70s. Bands were doing it. It was more a promotional thing until you had this like medium to like get it to fans, once that became a thing, it became a new art form. It was like 3D music. And,
right.
And as a consumer, that was just like an incredible thing. And there's nothing anymore when I get excited when a new album comes out from a band that I like. I get excited about discovering new music still, the same way I always have. Mm-hmm. But there's nothing like 120 minutes on Sunday night that I would stay up for, and you just were like, what am I going to see tonight? I'm either going to see I can remember, I have like vivid memories of seeing Stop by Jane's Addiction for the first time on 120 minutes. And I was like, this is like, it kind of gives me goosebumps. Yeah, I remember thinking about it. It was like, this is unbelievable.
Remember there was like the chaos of that. And then like the middle of the song goes into that slow dirge, and you can see Perry Farrell like surfing on the waves.
Yeah.
I was like, this band is so effing weird and cool. And like the sound was big.
It felt like a low budget video too, but it was still like,
it was like this underground thing. Like, wait, this isn't Poison. This isn't Motley Crue. Who are these guys?
Really something,
but it still had this edge to it.
It had like this attitude. It was exactly what I was looking for.
Me too.
Hey guys, thanks for watching.
We post videos every week. If you like this content, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Cheers.
Cheers. And I also like another video that made this lasting impact on me was One by Metallica. It was like a mini movie. I remember I was
sort of all that mystery behind them.
I was sort of into Metallica. I had heard of them. Yeah. I didn't have any of their albums yet. And then One was the first single from Injustice for All. And they have this long form video, like a mini movie. Remember, it had
Johnny got his gun.
It was the video was longer than the song.
Yeah.
And it incorporated elements of the movie. You could hear it over the top of the song, and it was so powerful. It was such an unbelievable.
It was the first time you ever really saw them in video form. You'd see them in magazines. You heard about them. I heard some of their music, and they were scary as shit.
Yeah, it was
because you're younger and you didn't. There was all this mystery surrounding them, but then they finally released that video, and it was so ominous and like dark and heavy and like. Who are these guys?
Yeah, it was everything I was looking for. But then you also had like fun stuff. Like I remember when Jump by Van Halen came out, I was like, what are these guys doing? Like they're just having fun. And then when David Lee Roth went solo and he had Yankee Rose.
California Girls.
The Yankee Rose video is still one of the fun. The beginning
That's when he had Steve Vai?
Yeah, the beginning of that video where he's in the convenience store. He
says,
getting a donut and a bottle of anything.
And a glazed donut
to go. That is one of the funniest things ever. And that's what MTV was all about up until The Real World. Now, you got to give them credit. They realized we got something here with this reality thing. We've got to push it. And then they just pushed it to the nth degree. A lot of great things came out of MTV, like Jackass, Ridiculousness. These are really cool things, but
I guess.
But they obviously, it's been a running joke forever. MTV hasn't really played videos for a long time, even though bands are still making them. YouTube has become the platform for that now.
So here's the difference, and it will never be the same. It's like one of my favorite Oasis songs, "Hello." It's never going to be the same. Mm-hmm. The reason why is there's no singularity anymore. There is no everybody arriving at the same time to view the same thing anymore. And back when those bands that we had discussed were able to make it onto MTV, you had so many gatekeepers that like in order to get your video on MTV, the hoops that you had to jump through to even get to that point were unbelievable. And you had to work your ass off in like the clubs to be discovered. So the easiest way to get discovered was to copy something super popular. So you had this vacuum of bands, young bands that were seeing these other bands, their peers, most likely. They're probably bands that were like playing at Gazzari's or playing at, the Roxy's, like a restaurant, but you know what I mean? Like the Whiskey A Go-Go and tons of other, the Troubadour, places like that. They were probably the same bands that were playing there, but they had better representation, better management. And once they got on MTV, you could be like a band like Poison, who was from, I think they were from like Mechanicsburg or Mechanicsville, sorry, Pennsylvania. And they chased, glitter and gold and went out to LA, and they were like borderline homeless dudes. And they had to like kill themselves to get in front of an audience just to get to that point. But they did it. They grinded. Whatever you think of their music. Now, I love their debut and a couple songs from their second album. After that, I actually think Flesh and Blood, their third album, is like a really well-produced album. But like the music for me was just like Talk Dirty to Me and like Cry Tough and Look What the Cat Dragged In. Like that's gritty and like there's something to it. But anyway, they made it onto MTV, and I think like their first video was like for $8,000, but they just got it on MTV, and it exploded. And then they went from being like borderline homeless dudes, working out of a van, playing these, shitty clubs and just like hitting the Sunset Strip every weekend and, hitting it with flyers and promoting to like being in households where everybody knew who those guys were, and they became megastars. And that was back when you didn't get streaming, 15 cents per 1 million plays. If your album sold 1 million copies, you were rich. Yeah. And you were famous. And, some of those record deals, as we've discovered over the years, were terrible for the artist, whatever, but you were at least a megastar, and it set you up for your next contract. It's a much easier thing to do now where you can self-produce and put a video out for people to see, but like how many people are going to see it? They're not all showing it up at one place to see it. Back then, you only got it on MTV. You only got music videos on MTV. You didn't get them on YouTube. So it's just so different, and we're never going to have must see TV is like it's a myth now.
So I don't want to say never. I think anything historically, especially from an art perspective, that's been a great experience, always kind of finds a way to make it makes its way back
in some other form, maybe.
So I like the idea. I've often thought of it as, because the ultimate like music experience, we think about this a lot when we release new songs with the Danger Dogs or whatever other bands we've had, is when we release a single, we want a video with it, because we feel like that's the ultimate way to consume a new piece of music.
Put a visual to
it. Think about this, like take like almost like an art gallery concept. You'd have to like kind of curate it in a way so that people were using like AirPods or some sort of headphones, because you can't have 1 million videos playing all at the same time. But if you had a series of screens and it was almost like a private viewing of something that the curator of the gallery felt like these are great videos that people need to see. And it could be famous people, it could be less than famous people, but something that's really well done from a video perspective, and the song is great and it all goes well. There's nothing quite like a song that I think of that is like embodies this concept is the song Age of Machine by Greta Van Fleet. I love that song. It's not their most famous song. They don't even, like, we saw them live, they didn't even play that song. I think it's a fantastic song. I think it's a mistake to not play it live, but like, I get it.
But the video.
Yeah. The video along with the song is just an unbelievable experience. And anybody who hasn't experienced it, put on some AirPods or headphones and watch that, and just consume that as a piece of art. It's pretty damn perfect.
It tells a story too.
And think about subtle. Like there's a lot of examples of that, but that is the one that came to mind right away. That type of thing has to survive. That it has to be something that like cuts through whatever kind of technological and consumer type changes we have as a society. That type of thing has to survive. It will, because
I think it will, but just the platform on which we consume it is never going to be.
And the ways we consume it,
Right.
like having a TV channel, nobody really watches TV anymore.
But you were talking about showing up to Headbangers Ball and Alternative Nation.
Where you're excited, yeah.
But like, you don't need to do that anymore, because like I can just watch that on YouTube later. So there's not that plus, you know, we're also
exclusivity, and like we're all lazy now
and we're older.
Yeah.
But that feeling, and that, I guess that's, you know, that's what's great about having, you know, nostalgia and great memories for those. I'm really, let's just put it this way. I'm almost 50 now. Would I like to be 14 or 15? If I could, if you could just reverse it and get like an extra 35 years of your life, sure.
Interesting conversation, though. Do you want to be 14 now, or do you want to be 14 when you were 14?
No, I want to be 14 when I was 14. That's exactly what I was getting at. Is I am so glad that I grew up exactly when I grew up.